Hello and welcome. I'm your host, William Liu. You are listening to the Raptors Reaction Podcast after the Raptors win once again over the Atlanta Hawks. 4-0 over the Hawks, including back-to-back wins here at Scotiabank Arena. Raptors win 118-100. This is going to be one of those episodes where a lot of people get praised, man. A lot of people get praised on this one because Raptors is a great team effort. Pretty much everybody that played tonight played well. Don't even want to speak on the guys that didn't play well because that doesn't really matter. Raptors got a lot of great performances across the board. And you know what? Before I even go into any of them, because, there were so many good ones to speak of here, one thing I really want to praise is just the team as a whole for how they played today. Because when you play a team back-to-back, after, again, they have all the momentum or all the incentive in the world, to play hungrier, to play better. Atlanta has already lost the first 3 games in the matchup to Toronto. They had just lost on Saturday against the Raptors. So this coming Monday, you would think that they would come in with adjustments. You would think that they will come in with more of a push and urgency to play the Raptors. They had more players available with, Luke Kennard and Kristaps Porzingis coming back to the lineup. Still no Trey Young. Obviously, basically it's public now that they want to make a trade. And we'll get to that a little bit later because, honestly, the game tonight was too good to be talking about some fantasy trades. But you thought Atlanta might come in and make this a better effort. And at times, the Hawks did fight. They were pesky, just like in the first game. It was kind of right there in the fourth quarter after Atlanta came out with the hot start to start the fourth quarter. Cut it to 6 points. Darko called a quick timeout. But I want to give the credit to the Raptors as a whole, from the top of the organization with the coaching down to the players. Obviously, the star players with Scotty and Brandon, but the role players, like the Raptors, you can clearly tell executed a better game plan in the second game. And they played much better defensively. Atlanta just scored 117 in the last game against Toronto. Basically, the Raptors didn't play defense for the first 3 quarters before finally locking in for the fourth quarter. And that's what won the Raptors the game last game. But they allowed Atlanta to feel very comfortable. This game, Atlanta was never comfortable. Jalen Johnson, all-star campaign, not tonight. Kristaps Porzingis come back to the lineup, looks soft as hell. I'll get to that in a minute because that was actually a really cool subplot, was the Raptors punking Kristaps over and over again. Nickeil Alexander-Walker homecoming. That's nice, man. A couple buckets here or there, but that's not going to hurt us. Zachary Risachet, number 1 overall pick. Nice second half. Fouls out in the game. Gets literally bullied. And you could go right down the list. Dyson Daniels with a couple spin moves for floaters. Cool. Raptors played way better defensively. And I think that's a great sign of focus by the team. Because, again, you could just be satisfied with the win. You could, take the opponent lightly. The Raptors did the opposite. After the win, they got hungrier. And they came back with a better game plan. That shows maturity from the top down. Obviously, again, from the leadership of the team. And how everybody came in and played. The focus of the rotations in the fourth quarter, when after the Raptors obviously gave up a portion of their advantage, they were up like 12 or 13 points, gave half of that back to Atlanta right away. But the way the Raptors locked in after that was beautiful. And, of course, Atlanta had different game plans. Like I said, after last night's, or the last game, right, when Brandon Ingram had 29 points, and I was praising Brandon, I'm like, yo, look at these turnaround jumpers. Look at him going one-on-one and scoring against people, like one of his most efficient games of the season. After I said that, if you remember what I said, I was like, next game, when the Raptors play Atlanta again, they're not going to play him single coverage. In this game, no single coverage with Brandon Ingram, double teams. And that was the biggest Atlanta adjustment. Honestly, they played hungry defensively on their own too, but the Raptors were able to slam the door shut on them. Like just, similar to how in the fourth quarter on Saturday, the Raptors were able to use I believe 16-3 run in the fourth quarter there to pull away. This game, the Raptors were up for most of the game, which again speaks to their focus. But then they were able to, after they stumbled just a little bit, slam the door shut. RJ with the 3, Brandon Ingram with the 3, Collin Murray-Boyles winning every loose ball, blocking shots, Scottie Barnes going coast to coast, and literally just like bullying Zachary Risachet to the point where Zach fell down, picked up his 6th foul, gave up the and 1. Raptors were able to restore their double-digit advantage. Scotty makes the free throw. And Atlanta's best performing player in the second half, after Risachet had a nightmare first half with 4 fouls, Risachet, got hot in the second half. Credit to him. That's a great sign of toughness for him. But Scotty Barnes literally just dominated him to the point where he literally had to leave the game. And again, after that point, the Raptors were not looking back. And RJ cutting in for layups. Mamu, the plays that he made in the fourth quarter. Collin Murray-Boyles, the excellence he showed all game. Jamal coming in late to sub in for IQ again to close the game, because once again, Jamal was more necessary in the end of the game than Emmanuel Quickly. I don't think it'll make headlines like it did last time because of the fact that it shouldn't be a surprise. We closed the game with who's best. And this is why I credit Darko a lot for this win, because when the whole team plays well, that's a great sign of the coaching and the leadership on this team. And Toronto handled every adjustment Atlanta threw at them and handed them their fourth straight loss to Toronto this season as the Raptors improved to 22-15. So let's go into those great performances, man, because this was a really, really strong effort by several players on the Raptors. I got to start first and foremost with Colin Murray-Boyles, man. This was his best game of his rookie season. This was a glimpse into the future of what this player is. The Raptors obviously using the 9th pick to draft him. And wow, just really exceptional, really exciting. It's the type of performance that gets you hopeful for how much more he can grow, because this is the worst that Colin Murray-Boyles will ever be for Toronto, which is such a funny thing to say after he has 17 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. I swear at least like 7 or 8 deflections in this game too. Shoots 8 of 10 from the field and has the best plus minus in the game at plus 24, because he was sensational in this one. I mean, yes, it helps when he gets to play against fellow small ball teams. Onyeka Ogkongwu is a fellow small ball center, but doesn't have the dynamism that CMB does. I mean, Okongwu's been in the league several years. You know, I respect him as a player. He's a good player. I would take him on the Raptors any day. But watching CMB operate, watching him be smart about it too, because we see the smarts on defense all the time. So the smarts plus toughness plus strength combination for Colin is evident from day one. You know, the Raptors basically looked at Colin and they said, this is the second best defender in the draft. Cooper Flag, obviously, you know, got to give him his respect. Number 1 pick, generational player. But CMB, right there. And that alone gets you really high on the draft boards. But CMB's ability to defend and scrap and be tough. I mean, tonight he guarded Jalen Johnson. He guarded Kristaps. He guarded the rim. He rotated. He rebounded. Just did everything. Literally did everything for the team. Played hard as hell. But the one thing with CMB is like, and we've been pointing this out in the last couple of games because he's been playing well. He's been playing a lot. But that's also given us a bit longer look as to what he is as a player right now. And he's been playing shy around the basket. And it's funny because how are you going to be a bully on defense, but then play, you know, wimpy on offense? You could be, if you're a bully, you're a bully. And I liked what I saw from Colin today. His ability to, you know, use his size, finish around the basket. His teammates were looking for him. I mean, great point made on the broadcast by Jack. If Brandon Ingram's looking for you, if Scotty Barnes is looking for you, I mean, number one, that speaks to good team structure because the Raptors play really unselfish basketball. But if your star players are looking for you, that means they believe in you, man. So, young man, keep going. Keep going. And today, with the amount of double teams that threw at Brandon Ingram, the amount of attention Scotty Barnes draws, CMB was just getting in there, hustling, scrapping, forcing tie-ups, winning jump balls, like doing everything. And then probably my favorite thing with CMB on the offensive end that's really exciting is he's got a really, really quick like sense of how to pass and the floor mapping of who's around him, because he's not just a simple, you know, pick and roll big. He can definitely play a little pick and roll, and today, the Raptors obviously got him in space a lot of times. But in transition, and this happened on back-to-back plays in the first half. First play, Jamal has the ball as the point guard. CMB runs down the floor. First off, I love a big that runs because, you know, a big that runs gets early position. Now you're sealing a man. Now they got to deal with you. And the offense starts with an advantage from the possession. But it all only happens if the big runs, right? So CMB runs, seals the guy behind him. They throw the pass inside of CMB. The help rotates over at the rim because they're worried about CMB. But the thing is, before the help even rotates fully to him, CMB already instantly turns around and whips it in one motion to Grady Dick. Almost as if the ball never lost energy. The ball never just stopped with CMB and then he kicked it out. That's a slight difference because that's him taking a beat and then making a kick out. The smoothness in which he caught the pass instantly reversed it to Grady Dick in the corner, got Grady Dick the most wide open three that he had all game, and it got Grady going because he knocked down that three. And then on the next play down, it's the same play. Jamal was able to feed CMB it down low again, and CMB was again able to kick it out to Grady Dick. And that made him so dynamic because, again, what did Colin Murray-Boyles not do well today in the supporting role? 17 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, plus 24, 8 of 10 from the field. I don't know when Karem's going to put the image of it up when the Raptors inevitably hand out the chain and take the team photo, but it should be young Colin Murray-Boyles. Young CMB's got to have the chain on his neck because this was so exciting. And I think that, you know, coming into this year, I think a lot of people are really excited for what CMB could do. And best case scenario, and then again, best case scenario, I thought what CMB could do would be a little bit similar, a little bit reminiscent of what Scottie Barnes did as a rookie. And I know that sounds like a lot because like, whoa, hold on. Didn't Scottie Barnes win Rookie of the Year? He absolutely did. But what Scottie Barnes did as a rookie right away was he had the size, physicality, and then also the smarts to play immediately. The instincts were there right away. Scottie was not a liability on defense from day one. He was already very good. And then he was already filling in, and his energy and getting on the glass and filling out plays. You know, Scottie wasn't the number one guy that year. It was Pascal, it was Fred, you know, OG, you know, Gary. I mean, Scottie at times was a fifth option in that lineup, just how sometimes CMB is the passenger in the group, but he makes himself noticed, right? He makes the most of the opportunities. And tonight, this is, I mean, the best compliment I can give CMB is he put up a stat line that Scottie could have. 17, 7, 7, 3, and 2. Impressive performance from the young rookie. Another strong performance tonight was from Scottie Barnes himself. Almost comes up with a triple-double once again. 18 points, 8 rebounds, 10 assists for Scottie Barnes. 8 of 16 from the field. This is what I like about Scottie Barnes. My favorite thing about Scottie is when he plays like a bully. Scottie Barnes tonight, driving in transition, pushing, getting downhill, using moves. He's starting to showcase a couple of counters. You know, like Scottie's usually a power player, but because of how strong and physical he is, defenses have to kind of overplay to sort of stop his momentum just from being like basically physically overrun. Just ask Ricochet what happened there. But Scottie was able to throw in a couple of fakes, a little behind the back here to get free from his defender, a little spin move, a little put it behind. It was just small little subtle stuff to, again, like the defense is already so leveraged. Like if you've ever defended someone bigger than you, heavier, stronger than you, you're trying to get lower and you're trying to push and lean against the other guy just to sort of counterbalance and use your leverage to sort of balance out against a bigger player. But the thing is, if that player can then spin or use a move to change direction, you're now cooked because all your momentum is leaning forward in one direction. And if he cuts the other way, you can't really recover. And you saw Scottie do that a lot tonight, but also the bully ball aspect of him just taking guys straight downhill to the basket. When the Raptors were struggling in the fourth quarter, Scottie Barnes stepping up and picking up his play. The and one to foul out Ricochet was probably the biggest point in the game in terms of Atlanta had maybe one last gasp, one last hope. They were playing better in the fourth quarter. They were being more disruptive. Defensively, they were coming up with turnovers. That speaks to how aggressive they were defensively, which, you know, last game, certainly they weren't great defensively. And then Scottie literally just like takes out their best player with just an absolute bully ball move. But you also saw the technique that he has, him putting it behind his back, getting downhill, and then the look away shovel pass to Mamu as Mamu cut in late from the top to complete an and one. Just like beautiful, beautiful stuff. To have both power, brains, the size, physicality, unselfishness, the leadership, the defense. Scottie was awesome today. Not to mention, by the way, that he had to guard the opposing team's best player, Jalen Johnson. And Jalen Johnson's had a great year. You know, no doubt Jalen Johnson's had a great year. He puts up stats no matter what. But, you know, Jalen Johnson tonight, 36 minutes. Yes, he had 13 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists. That wasn't the impact on the game. I'm sorry. You can't just look at the box score and be like, wow, big numbers, okay? Because he was 5 of 15 from the field, and he was a game worse minus 27. Scottie did a huge job. Him and CMB in particular really stopped Jalen Johnson. Other guys to get praise. Brandon Ingram. Oh, man. This is the thing with Brandon Ingram. Last game, okay, 29 points, hitting some of the sexiest, most difficult turnaround jumpers. You know, it was just beautiful stuff, right? We put together a little short for it. Again, Karem, you know, credit to him for making the edit there. Really, really nice work by the intern. But also just wanted to highlight because, like, yo, the easiest way to make a highlight, show a highlight player. what Brandon Ingram did, turnaround jumpers, the skill, the footwork to get to his spots. I mean, just beautiful stuff. This game, Atlanta, like I said, from the start, no, double team. Oh yeah, we got our best defenders on double team, hard double team, force him to get rid of the ball. And there were moments, and I saw him actually talking to Darko about this during timeouts. There were moments where, the spacing around him wasn't great. If the double team comes, they got to coordinate where the outlet is going to come, who's going to make the advantage. Because again, there's two guys on Brandon, someone's open, right? But how are you going to be open around it? And it felt like the Raptors at times like screwed that up, and those ended up being turnovers on Brandon. But in the moments where Brandon was free, he was still making buckets though. Because tonight, yes, he got way more defensive attention, still has 19 points, still 8 of 14 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3. 9 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, 2 blocks. I like, by the way, Darko used his challenge early in the game, like first quarter early in the game. And it happened because Brandon rotated at the basket and blocked Onyeka Ogkongwu, who had looked to have a run-in behind his man, got the pass and was going in for the layup. And Brandon Ingram rotates from the other side of the paint and blocks him at the rim. It was called as a foul. And to be fair, there was a little bit of contact on the arm, but Brandon had gotten the ball first, but the referee called that a foul initially. First off, credit to the Scotiabank Arena staff. They showed the replay in the arena right away. And so Darko didn't have to look back at his assistant coaches, then relay that message back, and maybe the moment's gone or whatever. Darko could just look up at the Jumbotron as soon as it happened, saw the replay, and without even going back and looking at his group, immediately called for the whistle and the challenge. And you know what? I like that challenge, not just because it was the right challenge and it was successful, but it was a way to show your team support in terms of what the focus was on today. Today, the focus, as Scotty said in the post-game interview with Kayla after the win, walking off, on TSN, focus today was about protecting the rim. Last game, Atlanta got to the rim a lot. A lot of layups for Jalen Johnson, Akil, Dyson Daniels. Guys were just parading to the basket for layups. Raptors said, okay, we got to take away the rim. But who's going to do that? Scotty's going to be on the ball, so he's not able to rotate as much. CMB obviously was doing his best protecting the rim, and he obviously was very disruptive, 5 stocks tonight. But Brandon Ingram's also a guy who has just the same wingspan as Scotty and even longer than CMB. And he was the one who's not always that attentive defensively and not always that committed defensively. If he, as one of your weaker defenders, is willing to rotate at the basket and block centers, then use the challenge, because whether he actually fouled him before the shot or not, that was right process. And I love that type of coaching that rewards the right play. And I got to say, Brandon tonight, not only was he effective as a scorer, as he always is, but I really liked how much he was using his physicality and playing more athletic, right? Playing more like the 6'8", 7-foot, whatever wingspan, monster that he can be. Seeing him sky for rebounds and battle those, seeing him block shots, seeing him use his length to steal the ball. I feel like over the course of the season, we've seen Brandon Ingram, first off, have an incredibly healthy season. And that's been beautiful, beautiful work on Brandon's part, and also working with the medical staff to rebound from his, lowest point last season, which was only playing 18 games, not having to, not being able to play and getting traded, obviously, because of the high ankle sprain and changing teams. But the focus as a professional to come in the following season and say, what's the number one narrative about Brandon Ingram? You could go to ringer.com. That's exactly what every show said about the trade was, Brandon's cool, but he's injured every game. You can't predict it. The fact that he's gone from that to leading the league in minutes played, in really impressive work by the player and the staff. But then as the season has gone on, it feels like he's getting stronger, right? He's building. He's not really showing, the same, I saw at the start of the season, it was a little bit sluggish. Right now, you're seeing him use the athleticism. That was beautiful. And then, of course, the fourth quarter plays too, man. The corner 3 after CMB won a loose ball, kicked it to Brandon in the corner, no hesitation. Some beautiful stuff. Credit to RJ Barrett as well, man. RJ had a really tough game. First 3 quarters was really, really bad. Missed shots. He's obviously still finding his rhythm coming off of injuries as well. He's been up and down. Last game, he was obviously tremendous with 29 points. I believe, did he get the chain last game? He should have got the chain last game. 29 points coming back from an injury. Tonight, wasn't that efficient for the first 3 quarters. But guess what? Fourth quarter comes around, RJ just locks the hell in, man. You know what? I'm missing free throws. I'm missing threes. I'm missing layups. Things are frustrating for me. Doesn't frustrate RJ because the confidence is there as a scorer. He trusts what he can do. And then, of course, by the time the fourth quarter comes around, knocks down 2 threes after missing the first 6 that he took. cut inside for 2 layups, and all of a sudden RJ comes up with 17 points and it's a plus 21. Leads the team in scoring in the fourth quarter, just playing off of the attention from the other players, and a couple of nice passes and nice plays by his teammates to find him. But that's the thing with other guys, and when RJ's replacements, when they struggled, Raptors weren't like, hey man, I got to keep passing to Jacoby. I got to keep passing to Grady. I got to keep passing to Ochai. They're like, it's a little tight. I got to just, I got to just take the shot myself. It's more contested, but my guys clearly don't have it tonight. RJ on a bad night, his teammates are still feeding him. And of course, RJ delivers in the fourth quarter with the scoring. Speaking of the fourth quarter with the scoring, Sandro Mamukelashvili, bro. This man, every game, I feel like I'm on a loop saying the same things about this man. But Mamu got the chain last game. That's right. RJ was in contention too. Mamu got the chain last game. He deserved it too. This game, Mamu's pretty quiet. You're like, okay, when's Mamu gonna come on strong? Fourth quarter, Mamu said, I'm gonna hold you down when you guys need it the most, okay? Because these are the plays I saw from Mamu. So Raptors came into the fourth quarter. I believe they were up 13. Atlanta scores the first 7 off a Luke Kennard 3, and Daniels hits 2 runners in the lane. And so now it's a 6-point game. So you go from being up 13, comfortable to start the fourth quarter, to now it's 6 points. Now Atlanta has hope. They got to run. Darko has to call the timeout. This is what happens after the timeout, and the plays made by Sandro in particular after that timeout. Sandro attacks a closeout from the corner, patiently gets into the lane, gets into a good position, backs down his man for a little short turnaround hook shot. 2 points. Mamu, post up, draws the double team, and then kicks it opposite, leads IQ into an open spot. IQ catches and shoots with a bit of a fade, knocks down the 3. Really nice pass. Then it's a transition layup, and the Raptors are, again, on a run. They had just been defending, rotating really well. Scotty hits it ahead to Mamu. First off, when you see a center, and I know Mamu's not a center, but he's the center in this lineup, so he is the center. He's the center, and he's the first guy on the fast break, and it's a 1-on-3 fast break against Atlanta, but Atlanta is like kind of tired, they're gassed, and they're, again, you're not expecting centers to be finishing layups. Mamu goes 1-on-3 in transition, Euro steps, finishes delicately at the rim for a layup. Another 2 points for Mamu. And then Mamu, one of my favorite plays of the game, gets on an island. He has to switch on to Jalen Johnson. Now, granted, the Raptors got Scotty for Jalen. They got, even RJ did a good job on Jalen at times. CMB on Jalen. But sometimes they got to switch, and they're looking to attack Mamu. 1-on-1, and there was no help coming on this play because he didn't need it. Mamu stops Jalen Johnson, makes him turn his back to the basket, makes him have to settle for a little turnaround contested floating to whatever. Not a good shot. And Mamu gets to stop. Like, Mamu was sensational in the fourth quarter when they needed him. Also knocked down a 3. Like, just, really, really important because, again, he was a really quiet first 3 quarters, but then he came alive. And, again, a good testament to his mentality because he was quiet, but then he just kept going. And, again, his teammates keep trusting Mamu, man. They trust him, and he's earned that trust. Look at last game. He did what CMB did last game, basically, except that, this game around, it's not going to be his night. As a bench guy, some nights is your night, some nights are not your night. But the best part of a bench guy is like if they can give you that boost, all of a sudden it picks up the whole team because now the starters are like, okay, thank you. Someone else has joined us, And especially because you notice that when teams are really choosing to be aggressive and double teaming, especially in the fourth quarter, they got to get a couple steals, go the other way and cut into the deficit or whatever. Mom was a great counter for those because he's dynamic. When they kick the ball out to him, he can pump fake. First off, he can shoot the 3, which is huge, right? He can shoot the 3, but then he also pump fake and put it on the floor and make the play for the other guys. He's kind of like RJ, but as a big. And, man, it's been great watching Mamu for this team. Very underrated, but the contributions from 2 other bench guys tonight. Jamal Shead. Jamal gets, Jamal is like such a fan favorite and deservedly so. One of my favorite things about this game was in the first quarter, and I didn't entirely see what happened, and I was in the arena, so I didn't get the live replay. But something must have happened between Kristaps and Jamal because, and I think it was probably a moving screen, but Kristaps looked to have leveled Jamal. And so Jamal was like down, he was hurting, he was like holding his leg, like it just wasn't great. No foul was called on the play. The Hawks might have gone the other way and scored. I'm not even sure. There was a play then that, like, about a minute later, maybe within that same minute, but Kristaps was on the fast break and he was cherry picking. He was about to hit a layup. And Jamal, when the pass was made, I think it was at half court, sprinted full speed and like basically tackled Kristaps at the basket. And then afterwards, Kristaps obviously missed a layup, but the foul was called. And obviously it was a bit of an aggressive play. Afterwards, there was a head-to-head, right? Both guys getting into each other's faces. And Jamal at 6 feet, maybe 6'1". I'll give him 6'1". I've stood beside him. I'm taller than him, but whatever. He's 6'1". Let's give him 6'1". Stands in there, looks at Kristaps dead in the eye, and he's talking that shit. And then Kristaps ultimately is the one that steps off. And I'm like, yes, that means that's a dog right there, man. That's like that's like the Fred VanVleet versus Kevin Durant type of like in the finals type play. Yeah, you're a foot taller than me. What are you going to do about this? You're going to foul me on the other end? I'm going to foul you right back. No layups. I'm going to have the whole arena boo you. And by the way, Kristaps was having a miserable game in this one, was smoking layups, was looking soft as hell at the basket. I mean, what kind of center takes 5-foot turnarounds? I mean, just disgusting stuff. But Jamal, like the heart of a lion, man, just steps to Kristaps. That was beautiful. That was beautiful to see. So that was great. That was probably my, and it was great too because later on the team was backing him up because there was another play after Jamal went to the bench. Second quarter starts and Kristaps and RJ get into it as well. Kristaps pushes RJ under the basket. RJ pushes Kristaps right back. They had to review the play. And I remember looking at them on the bench and Jamal and RJ were talking about, I'm sure, about Kristaps. And I'm pretty sure, again, you can't see from that far away, but if I had to guess, the conversation was probably like, yo, what's this guy on, man? Like, so seriously, what's this guy on? What's he going to do about it? What's Kristaps Porzingis going to do about this? The fact that he getting punked around by Jamal Shead and RJ Barrett, that was beautiful to see. And his teammates had his back too. So that was great. And you know that because Jamal's like everyone's little brother in this team, right? And they respect him too because he can actually organize and be a leader even though he's a second-year player. But then in the fourth quarter, okay, put all that sort of like, fighting and all that, the machismo aside. How about just the basketball? Well, down the stretch, IQ was struggling. Had a bad play where he drove baseline and left his feet and tried to kick out in the corner and it wasn't there. And another play where he had the time, the shot clock run out on his hands, which is a bad sign as a point guard. It means you didn't know what the shot clock was. So they decided to go with IQ down the stretch. They decided to go with Jamal down the stretch. And Jamal, just like the last time they did this, which was, I believe, Orlando, and they won the game, Jamal did everything right down the stretch. Maybe he had one questionable play, but ultimately, didn't give up anything defensively, was fighting like crazy, got a steal, got on the fast break, finished, pushed it ahead in transition, was like a bullet, feeding other guys, under the basket. I believe Scotty fed Scotty down the basket, like just did exactly what you need to do to close a game. And Jamal, once again, has rewarded the trust of his teammates, of his coaches. And honestly, I love that he stepped to Kristaps, man, especially for again, like if you listen to my show, and what I like from players, I like seeing that toughness. At times of the season, I've questioned the Raptors' toughness. I question Kristaps' toughness. Actually, I don't question it. I know what that is because Jamal stepped to him and Kristaps stepped off. That was beautiful to see. And then, lastly, Grady Dick. It's been a while for Grady Dick to have that strong of a game, but I was really happy for Grady. In fact, I was actually gutted for Grady. There was a play towards the fourth quarter there where I believe RJ had a chance to swing it into the corner to Grady. Grady had sprinted and worked his ass off to get to the corner, and RJ didn't choose to make the extra pass to him, and RJ missed a three. And I saw Grady's shoulder slump a little bit. I don't like that kind of body language, but I understand it in the sense that Grady was playing so hard, man. He was competing so hard. And of course, I'm sure if RJ gets another chance, he would have swung that ball. Maybe just didn't see him, whatever. But like Grady Dick had a great game. Him diving on the floor, him getting steals, running out the other way in transition, knocking down the corner threes, both set up by CMB. Like I mentioned, CMB with that sixth sense of knowing where the team is and mapping out his teammates and passing even before basically the play was set up for him. I thought he just did an incredible job tonight in his role off the bench. This is the hardest part for Grady Dick, okay? In 18 minutes, he gets 4 shots. If he misses 3 of those, he's had a bad game. And how are you really going to live on those margins? Like seriously, like it's unrealistic. He's not a machine. You know what I mean? Like he's obviously going to have some ups and downs, and ups and downs might just be he misses 3 shots versus he misses 2 shots, But the thing that he can control more than anything else is how hard he plays. And I respect Grady for how hard he has competed and scrapped. A lot of young players in this moment can get frustrated. This is the third year for Grady. This is basically payday, right? After 3 years of a rookie scale contract, you can negotiate an extension off of that. And pretty much every rookie that you want to keep, you extend after 3 years, right? So a lot of rookies in situations get frustrated, will put their head down. Grady Dick instead, yes, the shot is not really going for him, right? He's basically only hitting shots out the corner. At the top, he's really struggling. Certainly he's had some downs this year. He's been benched a lot this year. Even when he's had good halves, like when he had against Orlando, he gets benched in the second half. So you could definitely tell how a young guy could struggle with this, how anybody could struggle with this. But I respect Grady because he's doubled down on his effort. And he's been stubborn. He's getting stuck in. And you saw tonight, it wasn't just the fact that he made the corner threes, which is always great. And that's ultimately what he's there to do, is knock down threes. But I really like how Grady competed tonight, man. Fought, scrapped, dove on the floor, won loose balls, won jump balls, dove out of bounds, a bullet in transition. Control what you can control. And for a young player, Grady Dick, I thought played really, really mature tonight. And I hope people really are able to see that and praise him, because I know he can be frustrating. I know he's had an up and down year, and I know that it's not always easy to support the team. And sometimes I get frustrated too. It's just human. It's, what we expect from fans is to sort of go up and down. But one thing that everyone says about Toronto fan base and just how we evaluate players and how we come to become attached to players is, if a player plays hard for the jersey, they will get rewarded. And Grady Dick has, been struggling up and down this season, but he has played hard. And tonight he was awesome. And he really deserves a lot of a lot of credit for what he did. So that's all I have to say about this performance. In terms of the game itself, I want to hear your questions and get your feedback on the show. But we'll take those right after this short commercial break.
This segment is presented by Table Fare and Social. Get your pregame bites and after-work drinks at Table. It's at a great location right across the street from Scotiabank Arena and just steps away from Union Station and the Metrolinx bus terminal. Will, what are we having at Table Fare and Social?
Well, they got one of our favorites in the city, Alouette.
Ooh.
And of course, Alouette. Incredible food.
The wedge salad?
The wedge salad, exactly. Imagine you're about to watch a Raptors game, you're about to watch a Leafs game, you're about to catch a concert at Scotiabank, and beforehand, we get together, get a couple of drinks at Alouette, get that salad. We're ready for anything, man.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of options at Table Fare and Social. This is your go-to spot. Next time you're off to a game, check out Table Fare and Social, a downtown food hall right across from the arena for some great pregame bites and drinks.
All right, welcome back to the program. Before we get to your questions, actually, it is confirmed that Colin Murray-Boyles has received the Raptors chain, as he fully deserves to. Here's the picture, courtesy of intern Karam, CMB, with the chain. And of course, the team photo to go along with it. These guys can barely fit in this photo. What's going on? What's going on with the cropping of this photo? But yeah, the whole squad in attendance. Love to see it, man. Grady Dick flexing, J-Mo flexing. RJ not even trying to flex, but he looked dazed. CMB in the middle, Jamal in the middle, Elijah flexing, but Elijah kind of wearing like a Silvio Dante type fit, you know what I mean? Actually, no, he's wearing more like a Polly Walnuts type fit, just the full Trekkie, but also flexing as well. J-Mo, the two ways in there. Jacoby looking like he's getting choked or something. What's going on there? Yeah, just this is what you like to see, a little Raptors win, a little Grady flex, a nice little chain. I mean, we've had 22 of these on the season, man. This has been a really nice string of photos from the whole group, man. No Scotty in the photo. Yeah, where's Scotty in this, man? Scotty's probably taking the photo or something. Maybe Scott. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you never know. There's lots of post game opportunities and stuff like that. Also, sometimes like the NBA does like testing and stuff. Sometimes right after games. I don't get it, but you never know where Scotty could be in that moment. But yeah, where's Mamu in this? Actually, where is the rest of the team? Maybe the photo just cut them off or something. There's a chance they could have been at post-game scrum too. But I would prefer if they all took them together. Regardless, whatever. Still a nice team photo. And again, congrats to CMB on the win. By the way, you look at CMB. This guy's playing center, right? He's not even. He's like an inch shorter, taller than RJ. Like, damn. Like, he's RJ's height basically, but he's 250 and he's playing center and he's pushing guys around. Like, that's nice. What do you mean? Where's BI? BI's right there. So. Okay, let's get to your questions in the chat. Again, courtesy of our intern who's been starring them and watching them. By the way, if you drop the questions now, even if you repeat the questions now, it's probably a better chance to have them answer, considering I'm now able to actually engage and look at the chat rather than just giving my usual monologue. Okay, let's start here. CMB actually making his bunnies. You can tell he's been practicing hard. Man, I think one thing with CMB that's been impressive is, yes, he was able to make the layups tonight, and hopefully he's able to do that more often, considering the fact that he is pretty much open and looking to convert chances that are, in rotation. He's not like breaking down a set defense. He's mostly capitalizing off of cuts and transition and rolls to the basket or open, threes from the top. And tonight he did hit a three, but he had a foot on the line. But, whatever. I count that as a three. Skill set wise, I count that as a three. But the one thing I've noticed from CMB as the year has gone on is he's learning how to play harder. And I know it's like a weird thing to say, but he just is noticeably competing harder. Look at the way he's getting on the glass. He doesn't always come down with the rebound, but the tap outs that he's been coming out with. And then today I thought he played with no fear. Like, he looked at Chris Tapps on the basket. He's like, man, that looks like a 7-footer out there, but let me just hit a little, like, elongate my strides and get to the basket and use my left hand and finish in transition. Like, he wasn't turning down shots. And when he did turn down shots, he was making the perfect reads to find Gradey in the corner for threes. Like, that was really nice, man. That was really, really nice. Yeah. CMB's a good pick, man. Bobby did good. Listen, Bobby is, for what he's done so far, as, like, clear-cut the number one guy, he's done a good job. He hasn't made that many moves, but Mamu, was that a hit? It was a hit. Was Brandon a hit? It was a hit. Was CMB a hit? It was a hit. You know what I mean? And look at the team this year. Those are the three major additions, right? Last year at this time, the Raptors were like 30 games under 500 or something. You know what I mean? Like 20 games under 500. They're probably like 10 and 30 or something. Raptors at this point, 22 and 15. Not to say everything is working perfectly and we don't need to make any adjustments. No, there's more work to be done. But in the work that has been done, Mamu's been good. Brandon's been great, and CMB has been really good as well. So, good stuff, man. Good stuff. What else? Next question. Scotty yelling at people to run back on defense was the best highlight of the game. Man, Scotty is intense, man. Scotty is intense. He is a guy who, obviously he's a fun-loving dude, has been ever since he's come into the league. Can certainly be a little silly, a little goofy. He just did the Nutcracker, for example, which I thought was really cool. That ballet, him and Jamal, just being two little goofballs and really killing that performance. He's loves theater. Surprising, a little theater kid as well. You don't see a lot of NBA players as theater kids, but I love that part about Scotty as well. You see him in the commercials. He's got a fun-loving attitude. But when he gets in the game, he's intense. He's fierce. He yells at guys all the time. He yells at referees. He yells at his teammates. And then the thing is, you can yell at the teammates when he's the guy working the hardest, man. You never see Scotty taking plays off, especially on the defensive end. He might get too tired from defense and maybe take a play off offensively. I'll accept that, especially considering you got other scorers with you right now. He sets the standard. He holds it really high. And even last year, I can understand that people weren't tuning in to the Raptors as much last year as compared to this year. Again, the Raptors were like 10 and 30 at this time. But the turnaround in the season, and when the Raptors started playing great defense in the second half of last season, and the Raptors were winning, honestly, more games than their tank should have afforded them to win games. But the good thing to come out of that, and there is a trade-off, but the good thing to come out of that is they were developing good habits, and they were starting to learn how to play hard, and they were taking it seriously. And to a man, you ask anybody, management, coaching, the teammates on the team, everyone says basically Scotty decided like to really pick it up defensively, and he's never looked back. Look how good he's been defensively this year, man. Like, I don't know who the defensive player of the year should be if Wemby doesn't, play 65 games, which obviously he's had some injuries, so he might not play 65. But, dog, Scotty's right there in that mix, man. Right there in that mix. He's been so good and good every single night in different ways, too. Guarding centers, guarding point guards, switching, the intensity to hold other people up, help defense. And there's no let up. And he's been available every game. Like, yeah, just literally no complaints, man. Just Scotty's been great. And again, this is what you want your leader to do. Set the tone. You think Kyle was not yelling at guys? Kyle was yelling at guys all the time. Hot take. CMB has a higher ceiling than OG and Anunoby. Ooh. Well, I mean, you know what? The thing is, CMB was picked 9th and OG was picked 23rd. Now, I know part of the reason why OG was available at 23 was the fact that he was coming off an ACL injury in the last year at Indiana, and there was concern that he might not start the season available. I mean, who cares if a rookie starts the season available? You're picking this guy for at least 4 years if things go well, if not beyond that. But OG was able to establish himself as a starter. First off, he was able to recover fast enough to be in time for the season. And then he became a starter. And I remember some of the breakout games for him. The first one was Raptors versus Rockets. Back then, the Rockets were like first in the West, and James Harden was an MVP. And OG did an amazing job defending James Harden. This is prime MVP level James Harden. And OG did a great job defending James Harden. And OG, I think, also knocked down like 5 threes, I think, in that game as well. That was his first breakout game. And OG basically cemented himself as a starter for the rest of that season. He should have been part of the bench mob. He was on Serge Ibaka's episode of the bench mob with How Hungry Are You and ate those lamb brains. But OG was a starter basically from day one because of how good he was defensively. CMB, you look at him right now on this current team when Jakob's available. Obviously, he's not going to start. But every time CMB plays with the starters, doesn't look out of place. It looks like he could play. Smart, physical, tough. That's the thing. For a lot of rookies, is can you overcome that gap in physicality? You see that sometimes with Kobe. You see that sometimes with Grady. There's obviously like a huge physicality gap between when you're playing against college kids versus when you're playing with grown men who are pros. And you see sometimes when rookies are like good from the start, a lot of that is just, are they physically able to handle the league? And OG was ready from day one, and CMB's ready from day one. As a long-term potential, I think I see CMB as being able to play bigger than OG. And OG was obviously fantastic, and sometimes OG would, take shifts playing center. Like, he's had a game here or there where he's guarded Jokic, for example. He had 7 steals. Like, I'm not being ungrateful to OG's defense at all, but I think I'm already seeing CMB as more willing to play in the paint. And, OG has gone better and better and better as his career has gone, and he's put in a ton of work developing his 3-ball. And even developing as like a finisher. He's just dunking everything. He's more athletic than CMB, but CMB has more of the low under the basket game, being able to use little hook shots, being a little, floaters. One of the things that's important is you got to keep your balance in the paint because you're taking a lot of bumps and there's not a lot of space. You're always getting bumped. So you got to be able to be in balance as you shoot the ball. And that was one of the things that OG really lacked, was that balance, driving to the basket. How many times we see OG be clumsy? I don't see that clumsiness with CMB. I see more shyness, but I see him getting into great positions all the time. The rebounding, I think that's a plus on OG. And of course, OG's biggest thing is he might be like the best one-on-one defender in the league when it comes to guarding wings, both small and big. But I see CMB as more of an active help defender. And his man-to-man defense has not been bad either. So we'll see. But if we have another success story where CMB turns into OG, you'd be thrilled. You'd be laughing the fact that you got him at the 9th pick. Like, that's a very good player. Even if the Raptors didn't take OG 23rd and they took him 9th, you would still be laughing because OG's very, very, he's very accomplished. And look at OG right now, man. OG's going to end his career making like $300 million plus. Like, if CMB could do that, we'd be happy, and so would he, right? So, next question. A week ago, chat was slandering CMB and saying they should have drafted Queen. This is the thing, man. They're rookies, they're young, and they're different players. It's not to say that, like, oh, I'm going to pick on this side, I'm going to stay on that side. Like, it's totally fine to look around. Derek Queen has been awesome to start the season. He's just been awesome, right? He's been a tantalizing offensive player. I mean, think about what we would be saying if CMB had a 30-point triple-double like Queen did against San Antonio. You know what I mean? Like, it's huge. They're totally different styles of players, right? As good as CMB is on defense, that's how good Derek Queen is on offense, right? He's already a playmaking hub onto himself. He's already such a great playmaker, awkward driver, in between, the skill, the touch. A lot of it is really good. The handle as a center is just kind of exceptional. But we didn't go with Queen. We went with CMB. If I had to guess, CMB was definitely more enthusiastic in the draft process coming to Toronto between the two, and so they go with CMB, and there's a lot of merit to going with Colin Murray-Boyles as well. So, but I as somebody who really likes watching Derek Queen, I don't really want to have to accept some Derek Queen slander in this either. I think they're both very, very good players. Again, a lot of the topics tonight is CMB. Credit to drafting CMB. Clearly the vision is high IQ players. That's the other thing too. It's just like, there's how many guys have we seen in the league that are 6'7" with long arms? That's like the average player in the league is kind of 6'7" with long arms. CMB's not an exceptional athlete. He's not jumping out the gym. He's not Zion on that size, but his IQ is great. I mean, look at the feel of the game as a rookie. That pass and the back-to-back passes to Grady in the corner, they're beautiful. Like he has a really good sense of how to play off of his guys already, and what's impressive about that is he wasn't like this in college. Like in college, like the way they used CMB was kind of like how the Tibbs Knicks use Randall. Okay, give him a touch at the free throw line extended, let him back down, bully ball, and make plays from there. But like this entirely different than how he's playing right now, which is spacing off the ball, which is cutting off the ball, which is getting on offensive rebounds. Like, it's an entirely different role. So even the IQ to understand how to play a different role, albeit an easier role, is pretty good. Like, again, he fits in with this team really well. And I like that when the Raptors closed this game with their best defensive grouping, which was Jamal at the 1, RJ at the 2, Scotty, CMB, and Brandon in the front court. They were switching, they're flying around. Atlanta has a lot of mismatch problems considering Nikhil's a big guard and Jalen Johnson's a big forward that plays like a big guard, and Dyson Daniels has a couple moves here or there. They got some spacers with Vit Krejci and whoever else was on there. It wasn't Kristaps, that's for damn sure. They present problems and they move the ball, they cut, they play unselfish. Like, they're not an easy team to defend on paper, but the Raptors rotations made it so hard on them, man. And even when they had to switch, they were switching, they were communicating. They played a lot of different styles of defense in this one, Toronto. A lot of good stuff. And again, a lot of that just comes with IQ, right? Like in terms of just understanding how to do something. It was really big. Speaking of that closing lineup, thoughts on why Shead closed instead of IQ? IQ wasn't playing bad at all, but maybe Darko wanted Shead because they were pressing full court. I mean, I don't know if it was like fully pressing full court, but I think that, especially because the Raptors were up and they were protecting a lead, I think defense is more valuable when you are ahead in the game, and conversely, offense is more valuable when you're below and behind in the game. So maybe that factored in as well. I do think that it was maybe a little harsh on IQ just in the sense that he played a decent game, but he had that one turnover, and literally that was his one turnover of the game where he drove baseline, left his feet, kicked it out, and couldn't get it. But I think that for what the Raptors wanted to do, defensively, obviously Jamal is just straight up better than IQ. There's not really a good conversation there. And I thought that like playing with a little bit more ball handling and pace and zip with the ball was a little bit better. IQ didn't really get a lot of his offense, in terms of like, well, he got his own offense, but he wasn't really setting guys up as much tonight. IQ typically has more than just one assist, but he was finishing and spotting up off the ball, and those things were good. But that's more useful when Scotty and Brandon are getting to their spots and drawing double teams and kicking it out. Today, those guys were really having trouble in terms of how much they're getting swarmed and pressured. And Jamal was able to come in and just like, allow them to play easier, right? Jamal comes in the game. Jamal's looking to set guys up. Jamal's not looking for a shot. Jamal's looking to set guys up. And so when Jamal has the ball, now all of a sudden the Hawks can't put 2 on Scotty. They can't put 2 on Brandon and trap him and get the ball stolen. And it allowed Jamal to sort of just set up these guys for easier looks. And then, of course, Jamal just played faster. Like the transition, like the zip of the in-between moments, I thought was a little bit faster. But I don't know entirely. But this would be the second game in 4 games that the Raptors obviously chose to go with Jamal to close over IQ. I don't think people should make as big of a deal of it because, quite frankly, like, you just close with the best player in the moment. You know what I mean? Like, take all the politics and everything out of it. I thought that was really nice to see from them. In relation to this, the ability for the team to either go with Shed or IQ or both, which the Raptors have done a lot closing games, depending on what skill set is needed, it's really fun and impactful. Glad that Darko has the cojones to bench a $32.5 million player when needed. It's funny because we make such a big deal of this, and honestly, sometimes, like, I certainly suspect that, there are some politics that come into it in the sense of, like, you certainly want to be playing your best guys and everything like that. But, I mean, how can I say this, man? $30 million players get benched every day in this league. It's not $30 million players come off the bench in this league. Like, you look around, like, this is the case. How much is Kristaps making, right? Kristaps came off of Atlanta's bench tonight, right, and didn't close the game. I mean, a lot of games, I'm sure he doesn't even close, doesn't even play. What's Kristaps making? $31 million. You know what I mean? Like, Jordan Poole, comes out the bench. Like, I know these aren't like sexy names to be like, oh, I'm comparing IQ to these guys, but like, I credit Darko for doing this, but at the same time, like, again, just if you're a winning team this year and the Raptors are trying to win this year, and you heard, the leader of the team, Scotty Barnes, was asked, what's your New Year's resolution? Win games. That's it. Simple, right? So if that's the goal this year, then don't put anything above that goal, right? Your goal is your goal. Try to make it happen, right? If anything else, if you lose, then we ask questions, but if we win, we keep going, Another good question from Donkey16, who's in the chat every day. Appreciate you, Mr. or Mrs. Donkey16. But anyway, I feel like Scotty is starting to drive more. I don't know if the stats back that up, but it really feels like he hasn't been settling for the jumpers at all lately. I think part of it is the jumper hasn't been falling for him as much recently, but especially with RJ back, and obviously, other guys, Mamu, CMB providing offensively as well. I think it's allowed Scotty to sort of like pick his spots a little bit better. Obviously when they had more injuries and guys were really struggling and when they were losing in that stretch there, when the offense was bogged down, a lot was asked of Scotty to sort of create more on a consistent basis. And that's one of the things that you would say is a limitation for Scotty. He doesn't have that, like, it's not that Cade Cunningham gear of like, just give him the ball, get him a screen, and he just creates for you play after play after play. This is not going to be Luka. You can force feed Scotty all you want. He's probably still going to give you 20 points. But it also felt like he was taking more inefficient shots, whether it was the mid-range, and sometimes even the short pull-ups. Certainly he's got all the latitude to shoot those. I'm not saying he can't shoot those, but on average, you would prefer him to, be shooting at the rim. And yeah, partially it's also Atlanta's defense isn't that strong, but yeah, I think I am seeing Scotty's priorities basically be paint first and foremost, and then we'll go from there, And of course, when guys lay off him from three, he loves shooting that dare three. But if he doesn't make those, it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? What else, man? Can we put Bamba in at some point? Is there any hope to have him develop as the backup to Jakob? I don't know about develop. I think this is sort of like a patchwork. Like, let's just get a body in here in this stretch. I think they were obviously looking at a schedule that was going to feature Nikola Jokic, which obviously, unfortunately, he was injured, so he couldn't play. Not saying that they were signing him just to guard Jokic, because like it's absurd. It's not like Mo Bamba is some Jokic stopper. But last game, before the game, we asked Darko about like, hey, is there a chance for Bamba to get into the game? And he said, the matchups don't look that great tonight because Kristaps is out. You figured that would mean that with Kristaps back in the game after resting second half of back-to-back that he would play, but obviously he didn't play. The thing is, I'm not playing Mo Bamba over CMB or Mamu right now. Those guys are playing better at the center spot, right? So if those guys struggle, I think that's probably a much better chance for Mo to get into the game. But, he's doing the right thing so far, so I don't really mind that. Is anyone upset Mobo's getting no PT? Mobo's kind of been the most forgotten man on the team all season. I mean, I think people talk more about AJ Lawson, Chucky Hepburn, and Elijah Martin more than they talk about Mobo. Kind of weird to just be like, hey, that was the 31st pick last year. He's a sophomore year and now he's a throwaway. But again, the big thing is they brought in 3 guys at his position that are better than him. In terms of, you want CMB to, you want Mobo to playing forward minutes ideally, right? As a 4. They put Brandon at the 4. They put Mamu at the 4. They put CMB at the 4. I'm not playing Mobo over any of those guys. Now, granted, when those guys have missed time, especially with Jakob out, there should have been more opportunities for Mobo to play, but then they mostly use him with the G League. I don't think they prioritized him. They don't even talk about him. Like, he's just there. Yeah, sometimes I feel bad for him. I'm not going to lie. Okay, we got some money in the chat, too. Somebody sent in $279. IQ, Grady, and Mobo to Washington for CJ, Bub, and a second. I think based on the reports currently, it looks like Washington's trying to use the CJ McCollum, I believe, expiring contract to get into the Trey Young sweepstakes. IQ, Grady, and Mobo for CJ, Bub, and a second. I don't like this because you're essentially giving up Grady and I guess Mobo just to get off of IQ's contract. There's not much long term in this. Bub's okay. He just takes a lot of like every shot from Bub Carrington is a pull-up jumper, and sure he can make them, but like it's just not particularly effective, and I don't really want that as my point guard. CJ is not a long-term piece, and a second-round pick doesn't really excite me, so I'm actually going to say no to this. This just feels like you're just straight up giving up on 3 of the younger players in IQ, Grady, and Mobo. Someone also sent in $7. Tyler, shouts to Tyler. Good team win. Scotty's playing his best basketball, absolutely. Send Scotty Barnes to the NBA All-Star Game. Of course, you can go and vote, twice per day, okay? Every 12 hours, you can submit a vote, and that, by the way, is per account, but the site is there, vote.nba.com. You can go and vote our guys in. Certainly, Scotty and Brandon have played awesome basketball to put the Raptors in this position where they are 7 games over 500 in January. This is beautiful. Like, we didn't really expect them to be this good right away, but that'd be nice. Sorry, this is a great comment. Damn, people are now willing to pay to propose IQ trade. Yo, first off, I appreciate everybody for tuning in, whether you pay or not. But when you guys do tip to get the questions in there, and just to get IQ out the door for some CJ McCollum, that is some next level hating. Yo, honestly, this is what the internet should be about. If you want to hate on somebody, you should put some money behind it, bro. Yo, you know what? That is pretty funny, actually. Just here's $3. Trade IQ for CJ. Just get him off my TV. I don't even think IQ played bad today, man. This is the thing. I think I really do think IQ is the most overhated Raptor. And when I say overhated, just like when you say someone's overrated, it's not like, oh, they're not good or that they're only bad. But like I think people just have like targets that they like to sort of pick on. And IQ's become that target. Like, somehow he's become like the Damari Carroll for this generation, in which I have to say to you, this ain't Damari Carroll, man. All due respect to Damari, he got injured. That's not his fault, but it isn't that, okay? Damari wasn't even available when he played. He was way worse than what IQ is, man. Like, yes, IQ is not performing well enough, and I think the Raptors should look to upgrade there, but we can't just be hitting this guy every game. Like, he played totally fine today, Like, that's the part that I don't quite understand, you know what I mean? So I just don't think that, like, there's probably a punching bag that every team has, and it's a little bit unfortunate that it's basically been IQ all season. But on the flip side, I would say he continues to shoot well below his career norms. And if he gets back to shooting a 3 the way he can, it's a big difference maker for this team. In the fourth quarters, when IQ hits the 3s, it's always a big, big shot. You know what I mean? So, fans hating on a man of faith. SMH. Oh, man. Yeah. I don't know. As someone who is atheist, I can't speak to this. You hate on me, okay? Hate on me for not believing in the grand deity. How about that? Also, someone had sent in $5 as well. Shouts to Herbo. Yo, Will, do you have a connect to get into the Hongqing Lunar New Year tuna party? What is that? I don't even know, man. Hold on. Herbo, message me either on Instagram or on Twitter. Just direct message me, and I'll ask on your behalf and see what I can do. Is this Hongqing or is this Yan's dining room? Yan's dining room is a lot harder to get into, but I do have friends on both sides. So just message me personally, okay? Please hit me on my personal socials. Or hit info@stephenlebron.com. Email Alex and have Alex forward that email to me, please. Thank you. But thanks for the $5 as well. Yeah, bro's trying to connect. Revealed no connect. Please, if I can flex any connections, it will be my connections at Hongsheng. Okay. We did talk about this earlier, but we could talk about the Trey Young trade. But actually, guys, before we talk about the Trey Young trade, especially after a game like this, I feel like we should kick back a little bit, man. Before we sort of go over trades for this roster again, let's make the chill choice, everybody. Guys, basketball can be a little stressful. Atlanta had that little mini run, cut that thing to 6 points in the fourth quarter. Like, hey, Raptors, please take care of business. You've been up all game. Please make sure you wrap up this, win over Atlanta. Have a 4-on-1 homestand. It could be a little stressful sometimes. But honestly, your choice of beer, that does not have to be stressful. Having a Coors Light at a Raptors game, it's kind of like a go-to move, right? You go to the stands, you get a big, cup of beer, and you watch the Raptors, dominate on defense. You watch CMB thrive in the way that he did today. You watch the future of this young group with Jamal and the leadership that he showed. You watch the 2 all-stars that the Raptors have, and Scotty and Brandon play at their level. It's a really fun time. And of course, Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold certified for a smoother finish, so you can enjoy the game. And of course, when the game heats up, why not make the chill choice by grabbing a crisp, refreshing Coors Light? Find Coors Light near you. Visit CoorsLightShop.ca. Celebrate responsibly, and you must, of course, be of legal drinking age. Okay, let's talk about Trey Young trade again for the second time today. We actually did talk about this a little bit in the episode in the morning, which I highly suggest because that was a very funny episode. Definitely laughed a ton about Chris Middleton. I mean, Alex was trying to flex some Chris Middleton was a problem. Chris Middleton was not a problem, okay? I don't care what you say. Let's actually put up a picture of Trey Young as we talk about this, because Trey Young did come out for some warm-ups, even though he was not available to play. It was listed as he was out with a quad injury. But, and I do feel a little bit bad for Quinn Snyder, because he had to deal with this only mere moments before he went on to speak before the game. But the report was officially put out there from Shams Charania that Trey Young is working with his representatives, and of course the Atlanta Hawks as well. They're working together to coordinate a trade after obviously Trey Young has spent his entire career with the Atlanta Hawks. I'm just going to put together the little screen grab because I think that's probably a little bit better than just a random picture of Trey at the Scotiabank Arena. I don't know what I was thinking, guys. I'm sorry, boss. Hold on, let me just put out the report as we talk about this because I want to get the wording right on this. Okay. All right, so the Atlanta Hawks and Trey Young's agents have maintained positive dialogue on his future ever since the franchise elected not to offer a contract extension last summer ahead of his 2026 player option. Now the sides are working together on a trade out of Atlanta. That comes on the following report that it was just in Atlanta Hawks All-Star Trey Young and his agents Aaron Mintz, Drew Morrison, and Austin Brown are working with the franchise on a trade, sources tell ESPN. Young's reps and the Hawks have started collaborative talks over the last week on finding a resolution. So a couple of things to note on this. Number one, definitely been seeing a lot of agents in the building recently. Okay, definitely been seeing a lot of agents in the building recently, having some discussions. Obviously, Atlanta's front office is traveling with the team on this road trip. Obviously, Toronto's front office is here. People, I know S put out a video. They're like, oh my God, here's Kyle Korver and Onsi. I don't even know the full name of the Atlanta GM. I'm sorry. But like, the front office is standing courtside and Bobby's over there. And, okay, it's fun. It's exciting. I'm not even saying S did anything wrong here. But yeah, I mean, and of course we had that little conversation between Trey and Scotty walking off to halftime in Saturday's game between these two teams. Not entirely sure where the Raptors stand on the Trey Young interest. And I don't have personally anything to report just from Toronto's perspective. Maybe that's a bit my bad because maybe I could have chased the story a little harder. We'll see. Again, we have more time. There's another month till the trade deadline. But it is interesting as a prospect of like if the Raptors were to upgrade in a significant way. You would either like to upgrade the point guard position or you like to upgrade the center position. Because the Raptors are pretty happy with like what RJ's doing. Brandon and Scotty are definitely doing their thing. It's Jakob's being unavailable and IQ just being a little underwhelming, right? And those are the two spots where it's like, if you really were going to go for a big upgrade, maybe try to upgrade on those fronts. On the big side, it will be AD, right? And the Raptors keep getting linked to AD. I think there's genuine interest there. That would certainly be a significant upgrade over Jakob. And I know you can always point to AD's health, the contract, you got to worry about an extension. Yes, okay, and also what the price, of course. But if we're just talking about who would you rather roll into a playoff series with, Anthony Davis or Jakob Poeltl? I mean, come on, right? It's kind of the same thing with IQ and Trey Young. Again, it depends on how much it costs to get Trey. It really depends on what packages are out there rivaling and also which teams are actually interested. It was reported by Mark Stein that the Washington Wizards will be one of the teams that will be interested in Trey Young. So it's not just going to be like, like you're just going to get him. You know what I mean? You obviously got to compete with the other offers. And you got to see what the price is. But ultimately, if we're just talking about player quality and like what the abilities of players are, Trey's not a perfect player, but he's certainly a better player than IQ. And that's nothing against IQ. I just said that I don't think he should be so overhated, but Trey is an exceptional playmaker, one of the best passers in the league. I've consistently said he's a top 5 passer in the NBA, generates offense. I think sometimes you look at the Raptors secondary players and how much they're struggling. Part of that is if they had like a better overall playmaker to sort of generate even easier shots for them, I feel like that can really help them and settle in and make even less work for them to do. Trey does a lot of that stuff. Great perimeter threat to go with, obviously, Brandon in the mid-range, Scotty at the rim. It's pretty good 3-level sort of type of threat, right? The question is really just like, are you willing to make that move right now? How are you going to balance the books long-term? How many pieces do you have to put into this trade? I think the Raptors could probably put together IQ, Ochai, Grady. That's enough salary to match what Trey's incoming salary would be. But then, of course, that's not going to be enough as a package. You probably need to put in first-round picks. Is it going to be 1? Is it going to be 2? Is it going to be protected? Those are all definitely questions to negotiate. A lot of that negotiation obviously has to come from not just what Atlanta wants, but also what other teams are offering Atlanta. Because if they offer more, then obviously you got to offer to match. One thing that's good here, and I did say that this was very similar. It reminded me of the Brandon Ingram situation last year. Was Brandon was obviously had a long time with the Pelicans after he started his career with the Lakers. Had a decent run with the Pelicans, made All-Star with them, took them to the playoffs, kind of similar to Trey, although Trey has more accolades. But then it felt like, okay, they got to the point where they're in the middle of their career. The team looks like they're going to pivot in a different direction. And all of a sudden, they're looking for a situation of where they want to go. They don't want to go into free agency. They want to get to the team already and then re-sign or extend with that team. The Raptors clearly saw that opportunity last year with Brandon. And even though, again, everyone was like, I thought the Raptors were tanking. Why are they trading for a guy? They saw a good opportunity. 28-year-old all-star caliber player who the Raptors felt like they were confident in being able to rehab his health. And obviously this year we've seen how strong Brandon has been, consistent every game and available every game. And it cost them they cost 1 first-round pick that wasn't their own. And I know people are like, well, Indiana's good or bad this year, and that could have been what. You didn't know that at the time of the trade, man. Indiana's pick was tracking to be in the 20s. You can't ask them to have a crystal ball. And then we're talking about expiring contracts. You think IQ wasn't playing up to his contract? How about Kelly Olynyk and Bruce Brown? Because that's what that trade was. That was it. And they were able to, obviously figure out what the extension number was going to look like for Brandon. It was sub-max. And clearly Brandon's flourished here in Toronto. That trade looks like a huge win, especially in hindsight. Similar situation with Trey, right? His time with the organization is done. If anything is very clear in this reporting, it's that their time together is done. Trey and Atlanta are over, and there is no chance for them to sort of like kind of walk it back and keep going because like his contract is going to run out. He's got a player option at the end. Ideally, you're not seeing him going to a expiring year. Him with again some of the biggest agents in the NBA and in Aaron Mintz and Austin Brown in particular. It's just like they're not going to let a huge all-star like Trey just walk into an expiring year. They're going to get him to a spot that wants to extend him, work on the extension, and keep that thing going, right? He doesn't really need to be expiring. And free agency is kind of dead these days anyway in terms of just straight up signing guys in the cap room and stuff like that. So that's the opportunity that you have with Trey right now. It's very reminiscent of what Brandon was at last year. Now, the question is Trey the right option for the Raptors to go sort of like, not all in, because I don't think it'll be an all in type of price. You know, the all in to me is like what the Clippers did for Paul George. You know, here's 4 picks, 3 pick swaps, and Shea and our prospects. You know, that's all in, right? It's not going to be that for Trey Young. If anything, it's kind of like what the Brandon thing is. A first, you know, a decent player, you know, and whatever, you know. But I think for me, it would be really difficult because defensively, this will certainly compromise the group. But at the same time, you'd be betting on that Trey is going to be much better offensively for you than he is detrimental for you defensively. And quite frankly, he is. He is definitely much better on offense to make up for whatever he does give up on defense. Now, you'd have to cover for him. I think you'd have a couple of big question marks in terms of, is Yak going to be healthy? And by the way, there was a good update on Yak today. Yak is improved. He's been getting and working consistently. And Darko did update today that Jakob is at the point where he's able to do contact in practice again. That does suggest that he's closer and closer, right? So hopefully we'll see Jakob later this week if he's already going through contact and stuff like that. But, you know, certainly if you have Trey Young on your team, you want to maximize him by putting him with the pick and roll partner. I mean, Yak is a very good pick and roll player. Certainly a really great screener, but also a very good guy, you know, guy with a great hands and finishes around the basket. People forget what Yak was because obviously this year he hasn't been himself. But, you know, even if we got last year's Yak, I would love to have that with the pick and roll operator like Trey Young. And then obviously the outside threat, right? Watching Trey Young's warm up today, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's just shooting 30-foot warm ups, like no problem, right? So, it will really come down to the price. Maybe in a separate episode, we might look even more deeper in terms of where he's at right now and sort of where he goes in the future. But it's not a hard no from me. But I think I need to look at it a little bit deeper, and maybe I'll do a little bit more reporting on it because sometimes you got a sense of if the Raptors are genuinely interested. I haven't actually confirmed that yet, right? So that's what I got on the Trey Young trade so far. I know people, it's always fun to talk trades though. So it's certainly been very fun. Let's take a couple more before we wrap up. Okay, we got some more money. Oh, sick. Will, if you could pick any player in this league, who is your ideal fit to run point for this team? I appreciate you guys. Love the content. Send in $7 as well. Appreciate you, Austin James, 594. Any player to run point for this team? Okay, let me look at the players. Sometimes I always just helps looking at the standings. To run point for the Raptors. I mean, I'm just looking at this list. Jalen Brunson will be just an absolute killer in this program. Maxey, yeah, with the downhill threat will be kind of OP in this lineup. Certainly you got Scotty and Brandon to play off of, but if you had Maxey's downhill threat, like you can basically take RJ and then turn him into a defender, and all of a sudden you have Maxey's ability to drive, but also, you know, the guy's shooting on the outside. You just need a 3-and-D guy, basically. A healthy Garland, as you tell me Garland's healthy for the playoffs, he'd be really nice for this group as well. He hasn't really been that good in the playoffs, and partially he's been unhealthy, but whatever, that's part of it. Obviously, Halliburton's incredible. Who else, man? I mean, I love a Jamal Murray, man. Just a tough bucket getter, but that's kind of like having Brandon Ingram as a guard, so I might be okay. We might be over-indexing on that. Okay, Steph, obviously, without saying, of course. Yeah, I guess my picks would be Maxey, Brunson, Halliburton in that order. 1, 2, 3. I mean, none of these will ever happen, but it's just pretty fun to watch. So, Street said IQ. Yeah, man, I love that. Okay, IQ stands. Where are you guys at? Maybe we might have to form like an IQ stands to combat the haters, man. I feel bad. Okay, let's form like an IQ stand club or something. Like, can we have? I don't even see IQ stand accounts online. Everyone in the league got amused. I see Jamal Shead got amused. I see Sandro Mamukelashvili got amused. You tell me IQ can't get a music count, man. This would be a good time right now, man. This would be a good time right now to make an IQ muse. All right, it's time to zag. By the way, it's time to zag. Speaking of zagging, Zach Lowe, aka Zag Lowe. Zach Lowe had the Raptors 8th in the Eastern Conference power rankings today, behind the Heat, Sixers, Cavs, and Magic. I mean, I don't agree with that. I mean, I could hear the case for the Sixers, but I know definitively that the Raptors are better than the Heat. Like, what else do the Raptors need to do? They beat the Heat like very definitively in this last like 2 weeks alone. They have more talent than the Heat. I don't know, they're more cohesive than the Heat. Like, they're just better than the Heat. I don't know. I mean, I can't say anything otherwise concluding from the last 2 times they played each other. If their number one option is Norm Powell and ours is Brandon Ingram, it's, you know, I'll do respect to Norm, but it's not, I don't care. Like, it's Brandon is definitely a better offensive player. Cavs getting healthier, and obviously last year they had a great pedigree. I can hear that. Of course, the Raptors have beaten the Cavs 3 times this year, and those are the 3 times they're going to play each other. But I will at least say that the Cavs were injured in those, so, you know, whatever. But the Cavs have certainly been inconsistent as well. You know, they have, to me, they feel like they're so, like, and maybe that's just because of the injuries, but a lot of the role players have been really underwhelming. Lonzo has really been a step down from what Ty Jerome was for them last year. Ty Jerome was awesome for them last year. And to go from that to Lonzo, who has been terrible, is not great. Mobley's taking a step back. What's Mobley shooting for free throws, by the way? I know we haven't done Mobley slander in a while, but this is not slander. This is just research, okay? Evan Mobley. What's he shooting from free throws? Because I'll tap into a Cavs game here or there. Mobley is shooting 63% from free throws. He's actually getting better, which is good because his career average is not terrible. But, yeah, I mean, 63% from free throws. I guess that's what RJ shoots, so never mind. But yeah, like, I don't know. Cavs. Okay, I'll give you the Cavs. I'll be generous and give you the Cavs. Magic feels very hypothetical to me because Magic are a team that they feel like less than the sum of their parts. I think part of the reason people really rate the Magic, I mean, in addition to their strength, which is that they're big, they're physical, you know, I mean, certainly some of the Raptors have some of that too, but, you know, not to the same degree as the Magic are a bigger team. But, part of the reason the Magic get like so much praise behind them is like, okay, so they're always dealing with at least one injury, right? So right now they're down Franz, they're down Jalen Suggs. Well, in the meantime, you're like, okay, Paolo's had a couple nice games here, hit a game winner recently. Anthony Black has really stepped up, and it's like, well, okay, well, these guys are a different level. When these other guys come back, all of a sudden they're gonna be great. But then when they come back, they're underwhelming. There's another team that's less than the sum of their parts. And the Magic have shown that for like 3 seasons now. I don't know. When the Raptors play the Magic, we're kind of in the same ballpark. You know, I know we don't have the same pedigree. It's not as exciting. I know people are really excited about Franz Wagner. I mean, people must be watching a lot of Magic games, but, you know, the people are really excited about Franz Wagner. Obviously, Paolo's number 1 pick, you know. And certainly guys play well when other guys step off. But as a group, I don't know. I mean, Raptors Magic play a series, I'll go 7 games. So I don't really agree with the 8th in the power rankings. I know we're better than the Heat. Sixers I'll even give you because the Sixers are playing really well right now. Although streets are telling me that the Sixers lost to the Denver Nuggets tonight. I mean, I guess the Raptors lost to the Denver Nuggets, but the Denver Nuggets tonight started Day'Ron Holmes, Spencer Jones, Bruce Brown, Jalen Pickett, Peyton Watson, with Hunter Tyson coming off the bench, Zeke Naji, Julian Strother, Curtis Jones. Wow, they started Curtis Jones? Dog, Curtis Jones doing a lot these days, man. He played for Liverpool and he played for Denver. Wow. Okay, we got. He's the Bo Jackson of the NBA, man. This guy playing 2 sports. He playing a double pivot for both teams, but yeah. I mean, first off, I saw half of this team in summer league when the Raptors played them, right? And this another part is like, you know, the Sixers, they can be a little inconsistent, you know. I know Embiid's coming back, getting healthier, which is, I mean, just honestly, I'm even tired a little bit of kicking Embiid while he's down. He's been down for so long that it kind of sucks that, you know, the game has lost a great player. Tonight he was able to play 40 minutes and he put up 32 points. Funny how he plays the Nuggets when Jokic is in there, but regardless, like he played well tonight. But the Sixers are still kind of really underwhelming. Paul George is just not himself at all. You know, Maxi's an incredible gunner. And the Edgecombe has had some nice moments. He obviously had a game winner in the win over the Grizzlies in overtime. I watched that one. That was really fun. But I don't know. We might be underrating the Raptors a little bit, man. I'm sorry, Zach. Come on, dog. And I know you were here for a whole week watching the Raptors. I saw you in the building. I saw you talking to every Raptors executive. You know, whatever. We can quibble. I think Raptors are more 6th than 8th, but it is what it is. Last question. Krem, face reveal when? This guy started this, man. Krem, you ready? You got headphones on? No, he's not ready. This kid looks like he's sitting in bed or something, man. The lights are off. This guy's just enjoying. I suppose it is 11:20, so you know what? You know what? Being in the dark, that makes sense, okay? Get your sleep. Get your sleep, kids. Okay. Well, if Krem's not going to reveal his face, then we'll reveal our 3 stars from tonight and wrap this thing up. 3 stars from tonight's performance. First star is going to go to... Wow, this is such a team effort, man. Nobody on the Raptors even scored 20. That's such a balanced effort. Wow. Raptors had 7 scores in double digits tonight. You always love to see that. They also had 34 assists. First star is going to Colin Murray-Boyles. Best game of his career so far. 17 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. 8 of 10 shooting from the field. I know this is bullish to say because it's an amazing stat line, but there's going to come a day in this league when that's just close to what he averages. CMB's great. Maybe not what he averages. Okay, but like there'll be a day where this is not going to be the most surprising stat line from him, but he was awesome tonight. Second star, I will give that to Scotty. Damn near triple-double again, 18 points, 8 rebounds, 10 assists. Just for the play where he fouled out Zachary Rissache alone. I mean, that guy really had an incredible run, right? He had 5 fouls on him. You know, the Hawks were like, okay, we're going to keep you out there no matter what. He'd been terrible up to this point, too, missing even easy shots. Then he gets red hot while playing on 5 fouls. And you're like, oh, man, he might do something. And then Scotty just, like, punks him in the end. Fouls him out, gets a key and one. It's tough, man. It's tough, man. It's just tough. And then your third star, you know what? A lot of great performances tonight. But Grady Dick, welcome to the third star. This might be the first time he's got this in a month. So, salute to Grady Dick, man. I thought he played really well tonight. Did everything he could in his minutes. Played his ass off. And maybe he wasn't the third best player in tonight's game, but if I got a chance to give Grady some love, I'm going to do it, man. 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, 4 of 4 shooting from the field. 2 of 2 from 3, and completed the and one in transition. He's been playing his ass off, man. Give Grady a little love, you know what I mean? Gerald Henderson Award winner for who randomly torched the Raptors. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not that impressed. Not that impressed by the Atlanta Hawks. I'll give it to Onyeka Ogkongwu. I know Rissache like bounced back in the second half, but again, like he was invisible for the majority of this game and not available to play because he was in foul trouble. But I'll give it to Onyeka Ogkongwu. He knocked down some threes, had 17 points, 12 rebounds, 4 steals. Like pretty disruptive player. So there you go. Those are your 3 stars at your Gerald Henderson Award. Thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate all of you guys. Leave a like on the stream, please, and thank you. And yeah, we'll be back Wednesday as we do another episode of our daily show. Or not our daily show, because we don't really do them daily, but like, you know, not our nightly show, in the daytime show, okay? We got another daytime show coming to you on Wednesday. Hopefully to get you an exclusive interview with one of the Raptors for Friday. We haven't done it yet, so I don't want to count my chickens yet, but, you know, been really excited to talk to some players in the team, and hopefully we're able to get that recording done for you and put that out later this week. And, of course, the Raptors play... they've wrapped up their home stand for now, and they'll be once again back on the road. They were able to spend frigid January and December in Toronto, but Raptors will play the Charlotte Hornets on Wednesday. Raptors play them at 7 p.m., and then they will be playing the Boston Celtics on Friday and the Sixers on Sunday. So tough road trip for sure to go to Charlotte and Boston, the 2 teams that have really been thorns in their side, but if we can get one of the 2, I'd be pretty happy. So that's it. Thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate you guys. Big shouts, W's in the chat for Karem. And yeah, we'll catch you Wednesday.